By the left march, Labour's acting leader Harriet Harman is in trouble with 3 of the party's leadership candidates after she backed some of George Osborne's key welfare cuts. She's facing an impassioned meeting of Labour MPs tonight after announcing the party would accept limits on family tax credits and benefits caps. One of her loudest critics, Jeremy Corbyn, declared the welfare of children was at stake. We'll be hearing from him in a moment, but first here's our political editor, Gary Gibbon.
Harriet Harman feels her party needs a reality jolt. She's worried that Labour is in danger of talking too much to itself in the warm fuzz of leadership hustings. She thinks that the arrival of the latecomer to the leadership contest, Jeremy Corbyn, is adding to the forces pulling Labour back into its comfort zone.
I want to see a socialist endeavour. That is what we should be putting before the people of this country. That is what I think will take us back into office.
Allies say Harriet Harman worries the party's in danger of alienating even more voters in a contest supposed to be about reconnecting with lost support. Today, she stood by her weekend remarks that Labour should back some government measures like the restriction of child tax credits to 2 children.
Under the last government, there were 13 welfare bills and we opposed everything in them and achieved nothing and then lost the subsequent election. We've got to think, what is it that the key priorities for the public? What is it that the government's doing worst and doing wrong?
Some Labour MPs are furious that Harriet Harman is calling on them to abstain when the Commons votes on welfare changes next week. But some Labour figures are applauding the acting leader for weighing in on what they see as a drab leadership contest.
Does it look to you like this Labour leadership contest is going to produce someone who will be our Prime Minister?
At the moment, it doesn't look very good at all.
Do you think that's why Harriet Harman was applying some sort of electric shock to the Labour Party?
Yeah, I mean, Harriet Harman is trying to break the news, I think, in quite a decent and gentle way, that we lost the election and that we have to look at that very seriously.
Do you think we could right now be looking at the death of the Labour Party?
Oh, it's absolute. We are there. You know, as I say, it's an existential crisis. So the Labour's got this Parliament to sort itself out. Otherwise, it could become irrelevant.
Tristram Hunt says now should be a moment for a much bigger rethink in a party that will struggle to govern alone.
When we think about the relationship with the SNP, when we think about the relationship with the Liberal Democrats in England, we do have to think about broader progressive causes. We do have to think about where there are alliances to be made, philosophical alliances, political alliances.
This is a long way from what happened in the last election, isn't it?
This is a long way, but the Labour Party is in tough times at the moment, and I think everything should be on the table, and so we've taken an absolute...
Does it feel like it is in this contest?
Well, I think we need to open up this contest over this summer. We need a summer of hard truths for the Labour Party about the depth of the crisis we face, the kind of solutions we need to think about, just the depth of the crisis that we need to confront. And I fear at the moment, if we're thinking about micro policies and micromanaging and writing manifestos for 2020, that doesn't begin to add up.
I will take Labour out of the Westminster bubble. I will be a leader people can relate to.
David Cameron has a woman problem. Let's give him an even bigger one. Let's elect Labour's first woman leader and first woman Prime Minister.
Front-runners Andy Burnham and Yvette Cooper joined Jeremy Corbyn in rejecting tax credit changes. Only Liz Kendall echoed Harriet Harman's argument. At this hustings, you get a sense of why Jeremy Corbyn's candidacy is worrying party high command.
I would vote for Jeremy Corbyn, and in main that's because I think the other candidates are a bit lacklustre.
I think Jeremy Corbyn's saying what I like to hear, but I think I'll go for Andy Burnham because I think he's got charisma.
I think I'm favouring Yvette Cooper. My heart is with Jeremy Corbyn, but I think we have to be realistic about what is going to work for the party.
Friends say Harriet Harman worries this contest could magnify the differences between Labour's membership and the wider country. And she's determined to invest a bit of her political capital in trying to stop that.
Well, earlier I spoke to the Labour leadership contender Jeremy Corbyn, and I began by asking him whether his parliamentary colleagues should back him or Harriet Harman over the government's welfare cuts.
Well, there's a meeting of the Parliamentary Labour Party this evening, and I hope they will decide, if there's to be a decision made there, that we should be opposing what the government is doing.
So you've got no problem with Somebody coming from abroad as a migrant with 5 kids, say, and claiming 5 lots of child tax credits, 5 lots of child benefits, housing benefit.
People and children
no limits on their benefits.
People and children come first. The amount of money involved is not that great when compared to the total budget as a whole. What we're doing is going in a wrong direction by impoverishing children of large families, and particularly in London, where the benefit cap has had a devastating effect on people in the private rented sector.
What rate of income tax is too high?
The rate of income tax ought to be set on the ability to pay it, and at the moment the top rate is too low. I would go 50% and possibly slightly higher, but I'm actually more interested in collecting uncollected corporation tax and corporate taxation.
Would 60% be too high?
Can I finish? The real issue is corporate tax fraud across the world.
But the bigger point is how much inequality we are prepared to live with in this country, isn't it? You know, should we accept the existence of super rich people? Or would there be no super rich people in Britain if you were Prime Minister?
Are super rich people actually happy with being super rich?
No, I'm asking you, would you end them?
I would want the super rich to be able to pay properly their share of the needs of the rest of the community.
So they wouldn't be super rich anymore, would they?
But the issue is actually that there's a crossover between income tax and high income people over towards the corporate tax sector, and they often evade taxation by that means.
Let's briefly talk about foreign affairs. Why did you call Hamas and Hezbollah your friends?
What I did was spoke at a meeting in which I said I wanted all people involved in the Middle East issue to come together and be able to have a discussion, to be able to discuss. Can you allow me to finish? Do you mind?
Yeah, but I asked you a question and you're ignoring it.
No, I'm not ignoring the question. If you'd give me a minute, I'll answer it. The point is this. Listen for a minute, if you don't mind. I spoke at a meeting about the Middle East crisis in Parliament. And there were people there from Hezbollah, and I said I welcomed our friends from Hezbollah to have a discussion and a debate. And I said I wanted Hamas to be part of that debate. I have met Hamas in Lebanon, and I've met Hezbollah in this country in Lebanon. I've also met...
Are they your friends or not?
Can I finish?
Are they your friends or not?
Can I finish? I've also met...
Well, you can't if it's a long answer.
Look, the issue is this. You are not prepared to discuss the whole issue of the Middle East. You're not prepared to discuss the wider question. The wider question is, Hamas, Hezbollah are part of a peace process. Even the former head of Mossad says that there has to be talks involving Hamas. I've also had discussions with people from the right in Israeli politics who have the same view, possibly, that the state of Israel should extend from the river to the sea, as it is claimed people from the Palestinian side do.
And I'm very happy for you to make all of that clear. But I'm saying you use these words, friends. Now, are you saying they're not your friends? Or are you saying they are your friends?
I'm saying that people I talk to, I use it in a collective way, saying our friends we're prepared to talk to. Does it mean I agree with Hamas and what it does? No. Does it mean I agree with Hezbollah and what they do? No. What it means is that I think to bring about a peace process, you have to talk to people with whom you may profoundly disagree. There is not going to be any peace process unless there is talks involving Israel, Hezbollah and Hamas. And I think everybody knows that.
But as you know, the controversy is around you calling them friends. And you've explained, I think, that when you said that, you didn't mean that they're friends.
I used it in a collective way at a discussion, and you're trying to trivialise the whole issue of the Middle East. You're trying to trivialise the whole discussion about how you bring about a long-term peace process.
I'm very happy to have long conversations with you.
Well, why don't we have them then?
And you've been on this programme talking about the Middle East many times.
Well, not very recently, actually. You haven't had me on for a long time.
But this quote about friends has surfaced, and that's what I was asking you about, and you've had your opportunity to...
Well, thanks for the tabloid journalism.
To answer. That's not tabloid journalism.
Yes,
That's putting your own words back to you.
Tabloid journalism where you are evading asking me to give an opportunity to discuss the wider issue of the Middle East.
Because
all you're interested in...
what I was going to ask you next was something rather more important.
No, it's tabloid journalism and you know it.
Well, it's absolutely not. I was asking you about your own words, and if you're not prepared to defend your own words, then that's fine.
I'm quite prepared to defend my own words. I've just done so.
I want to get on to a bigger aspect of foreign policy, which we could have done minutes ago had you just answered the question when I answered it, which is it noble, is it right to continue doing nothing to intervene in Syria?
I think the decision not to bomb Syria or to bomb Syria, not to bomb Syria, is an important one. If we'd started bombing now, what would it achieve? probably not very much. It would then be followed up by ground forces, and we'd then be back into a war. I think the issue has to be choking off the arms supply and the money that goes to ISIL, recognise where ISIL have come from, and also recognising, I think there was quite a big mistake in not reconvening the Geneva conference involving Iran, which could have helped to bring about a much earlier point of ceasefire in the other part of the Syrian civil war, that is between the government of Syria, Free Syrian Army, and the Kurdish forces, as opposed to the ISIL forces, which have grown significantly in the past year. I don't think British intervention by military means is going to bring about a solution to it. I think there has to be ultimately a political solution. I think we also need to look at the role that Saudi Arabia and other countries are playing in the arms they're putting into the area.
Jeremy Corbyn.